I'm Kevin Shaw, and you're watching the Watercraft Journal.
You would have thought I had planned for this a lot better, but as I scrambled to pack the truck after making the last-minute decision to join the Tennessee Waterfall adventure, I realized I had left a few things off my list. But hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me back up a little bit. I had just returned the Loaded to the Rafters 2022 Ultra 310LX back to Kawasaki a day earlier. In its stead, Kawasaki handed me the lanyard to a really orange 2023 Ultra 160LXS. Although down significantly on horsepower from the golden 310LX, the 160LXS promised demonstrably better fuel mileage with all of the comfort of the recent redesign. Unlike the 310LX and its naturally aspirated 160 counterpart, the 160LXS doesn't come standard with the quartet of speakers and dual USB ports in the waterproof glove box. Gone too is the short but surprisingly effective windscreen of the LX. Rather, the LXS is what I'd call the ideal tow rig for the family. It's bright, it's stable, and it seats three comfortably. It comes equipped with the Ultra deck, adding 200mm or 7.9 inches of length to the rear, and its multi-mount rail system, as well as the reverse-facing camera lens. This feature alone is a major draw, as it allows the driver to view the raft or towable behind them at 3 different zoom levels through the TFT dashboard. The rear camera and reinforced stainless tow eye are below the rear passenger seat, above the wet storage cubby pocket, which is ideal for dock lines or a tow rope. Unfortunately, these are completely blocked when equipped with Kawasaki's rear cargo rack. The rack is substantive, measuring 31 inches wide, 21 inches deep, and 14 inches tall. Ours came equipped with the optional Kawasaki Green Orca 40 quart cooler, which, had we packed it sufficiently, probably would have survived us a whole week. The rack supplied cargo net simply didn't fit the cooler, and the big Orca fit a little too loosely for the rack, but those are all notes for a later, more detailed review. Rather, since I had just picked up the Ultra 160, I figured a good break-in would be joining the Great Lakes ski riders and Jet Rider Nation for at least part of their weekend ride. Prior commitments meant I could only ride Friday, and since Tennessee lakes can quickly fill up on Saturdays and Sundays, only being free for Friday was a happy coincidence. Thankfully, my oldest daughter was happy to come along for the day. She'd been tagging along for rides since she was 6 years old, so this was old hat territory. We loaded up sunscreen, water, and towels, and pretty much everything else we thought we needed. Yet somehow I forgot to set my waypoints on my GPS or bothered to bring it at all. But hey, I had been on Center Hill Lake before a couple of times. We'd be fine, right? Setting in at ramp number 2 around 8 a.m., we eyed license plates from as north as Michigan and as south as Dade County, Florida. It took a couple seconds to launch and tie up the jet ski, but by then, the cove was already packed with skis. I thought our group would be around 20 skis, but it turned out that the head count was closer to 80. Basil Alrubier runs a tight ship. Running lead and having Manny Arroyo take up the tail, he had the whole group ride single file through the winding lake all the way to Burgess Falls. It had rained in central Tennessee for nearly a whole week, so all the waterfalls were in full force, making for some impressive scenery. Not one to fall in line or follow the leader, Morgan and I peeled off and shot the shoreline, speeding past cliff faces and low-hanging branches of waterside trees. I knew my way to the falls more or less, and Basil pointed southeast towards Fall Creek Falls first. Fall Creek is unique as it's the highest free-fall waterfall east of the Mississippi River. The water level was low, as I recall idling up to the falls previously, but we were able to tie up onto a stump and walk over to the lagoon. Morgan and I were first to wade into the chilly pond and quickly discovered a natural shelf behind the cascade where we could sit and watch thousands of gallons of fresh rainwater tumble just in front of our knees. Seeing our exploits, a half dozen others swam out to join us. Only a couple of our thin-blooded Floridian friends braved the 50-something degree water, but earned the experience of seeing the backside of water as Morgan and I had. First in and first out, we loaded the Ultra back up and idled past the group into deeper water. The trail out is a winding track flanked by cliff sides that cast you in shadow throughout most of the day. We exited into wider water and waited for the larger group to fall into formation. The cruise to Burgess Falls picked up some speed as the channel narrowed, allowing a few of us more daring types to enjoy some speed. The river shrank to a creek and the bottom quickly came into view. Burgess Falls water levels were down quite a bit, so we had to get out and walk over the rocks to get to them. A few played in the pond while the rest of us mingled and talked shop. A handful had sucked up a bit of waterlogged wood or grass and needed to clear their pumps, the usual fare for wilderness rides like these. The plan from here was to return the route we had come, passing beneath the Hurricane Bridge, and to meet up for a late lunch at the Blue Water Grill in Hurricane Marina. Yet before then, we had gathered at a small beach at the Mouth's T intersection for a group photo. The patience of a few feeling the pangs from their empty stomachs began to gripe, while some started goading the others with friendly ribbing and playful teasing, all in good fun. Nevertheless, folks were getting hungry and weren't interested in waiting anymore. Confident that I knew the way, I reboarded the Ultra and followed Will Winters aboard Joe Cornette's warmed-over RX-PX and a couple others. The lowly 160 LXS had no chance of hanging with Will and the others on their 80+ mile-an-hour Sea-Doos, but I could follow their wakes in the distance. Until I couldn't. Navigating by memory, I idled up to the mouth of Hurricane Marina. But the sight of distant wakes and 3 more skiers from our group passing nearby gave me pause. Had I screwed up and this wasn't the right marina? I started to second guess myself. One of the passing 3 had waved us on to join them, and my doubts got the best of me. So off we went. After a couple of minutes, my spidey sense started to tingle. Man, we've gone way too far. Something's wrong, I thought. And sure to my instinct, we rounded the corner to ramp number 2. We were back where we started. What the heck, I yelled, throwing my hands up. The answer back was disheartening. The trio were upset with the ride thus far and were calling it quits early. With the slightest bit of signal, my phone's mapping showed us 30 minutes from the marina, the very same that I had stopped only minutes earlier. Now too low on gas to return by water, and without enough time to stop and eat, had we even the fuel, I determined that my poor judgment had cost us the rest of the day's ride. We loaded the Kawasaki up on the trailer, unpacked our cargo, and proceeded the 1.5 hours back home. Once within cell signal range, I text both Joe and Basil, explaining my mistake and apologizing for our early departure. Thankfully, the group carried on throughout the afternoon and enjoyed themselves all weekend long, making me all the more resentful that I had doubted my own memory and hadn't listened to my gut. Had I the opportunity to do it all over again, I would have swallowed my pride and hung closer to the main group. There's a good reason group leaders put in hours of preparation. Too often, we take their leadership for granted and fail to appreciate the effort poured into making these rides happen. So for that, I owe Basil a big fat apology. Guys, I really recommend joining these groups for adventure rides. The good ones out there really put in their due diligence to make sure that everyone is having a good time and, more importantly, comes home safe. If you haven't already, go check out Jet Rider Nation and the Great Lakes Ski Riders. They're really solid people and a blast to ride with.
I'm Kevin Shaw, and you've been watching the Watercraft Journal. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, maybe leave a comment, and share it with your friends. It'll definitely help us grow the channel. And if you want more awesome jet ski content, please make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. As well, why don't you go visit us over at www.watercraftjournal.com, where new articles are written and published every day, Monday through Friday, entirely subscription free to you. We'll see you there.